good morning and namaste, everyone. Thank you for joining. This is Hindu Lounge. Hindu Lounge is brought to you by Hindu Pact. Hindu Pact is Hindu Policy Research and Advocacy Collective. Hindu Lounge is a show that we do every week and where we talk about contemporary American Hindu issues. And as always, with me is Utsada. Utsada is Utsa Chakrabarti. Utsada, welcome. Utsada is the executive director of Hindu Pact. And I am Ajay Shah. I am the president of World Hindu Council of America, or VHPA. As I said earlier, Hindu Lounge comes live every Sunday at 11 o'clock on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook, and on our Twitter channels. And today, Utsada, we are going to talk about an interesting issue. We are going to talk about August of hate, a Hindu hate in America. And, every summer brings, its own characteristics in America. There is a summer of protest and there's a summer of something else. And, this is an American tradition. And unfortunately, this year, it is the August of Hindu hate. So many incidents have taken place this month of Sada that I have no better words to describe than call it summer of Hindu hate. With that,
So, Ajay, bhai, before you start, if you could refresh your PowerPoint, there are some slides that I have added.
absolutely, you got it. So,
So,
Sada, talk about summer of hate. I think there are, you know, uh, ranging from attack on or vandalism in a mandir where Gandhiji statues were destroyed. We talked about it a little bit a few weeks ago. There was also incidents that happened this week, couple of incidents, and then there was an innocuous proclamation commemorating yoga that was rescinded in a town in California. So there's this whole bunch of incidents that are happening all over America, some physical, some verbal abuse, vandalism. What is going on in America, Utsada?
well, what it looks like there is an effort, a serious effort to actually manifest some of the propaganda that has been going on. So, over the last couple of years, I would say last 8 or 12 years, there has been a slow increase of propaganda content, anti-Hindu content based on colonial tropes as well as new geopolitical realities, both of which are used to target American Hindu communities. And these tropes, colonial tropes, and geopolitical agendas have kind of started merging in the last 5-6 years. Initially, it was in the intellectual space, in the academic space, in the media space. What we are seeing now is that all those hate efforts that have been emerging in the media, in the academic space, in the written space and the spoken space are now manifesting themselves in the physical space. So in the public square, in Hindu temples, in Taco Bells, in outside restaurants across the country. I mean, each corner of the country is seeing some form of violent manifestation of the hate that has been, it's the Hindu community faces a boiling frog syndrome now, where we are, we kept quiet when the media was targeting Hindus. We kept quiet when the history departments and the religion departments and the sociological departments of multiple universities were targeting Hindus. We were quiet when the city councils were targeting Hindus. So now this slow boil has reached a point where an average Hindu going to a Taco Bell or a restaurant in Texas, or a Taco Bell in California, or a Hindu mandir in New York is now, without any provocation, dealing with direct physical hate.
And Utsada, this is something that we have been warning on this show and other forums. I mean, even as far as back as when we started AHAD, which is American Hindus Against Defamation in 1997, we were saying that, look, when people denigrate your murtis, when people denigrate the mandirs, when people denigrate the culture and the manifestation of culture and festivals and all of that, when people do holy against Hindutva and people mock your religious beliefs, the downstream impact of that is in schools where your kids get bullied, get beaten up. The downstream impact is a night worker at 7-Eleven, a night worker in a motel who is working alone. It's not going to happen in a high-rise office building of a research institute or an investment bank or a ivory tower or a Googleplex or something like that. It's going to happen in these places at the beginning. And for 25 years, this has been, as you correctly said, it's been building up. The school children have been taking the brunt of this bullying for a long time, and now the same bullying now has extended way beyond. And the more silence the Hindus have expressed on these incidents, they're not willing to speak up, they're not going to stand up, then more of this is going to happen. We're not saying counter violence with violence. What we are saying is stand up for your beliefs. We are saying stand up to the bullying, stand up to the racism, stand up to all the other ways people, that you stand firm to assert your Hindu identity. There is nothing wrong with it because it is not a negative assertion. It is an assertion of something that is positive. And yet, Utsada, let me bring this video for you, and maybe you can go and play this because I cannot play videos. So if you don't mind going to the first video and just play I've actually positioned it so you can just play 1 minute from the mark. If you just click on the button and play, share and play 1 minute. And this is as you are bringing this video up, for the people who are just joining us, this is the video that was taken earlier this week in Fremont, California, at a Taco Bell. And look at the language. Look at how a Hindu customer is bullied and spat upon in the restaurant. Okay, this is in an enlightened place like Fremont, California, where there is substantial Hindu population. Go ahead, Utsada. I will bring your video up. And ah, unfortunately, you're not. If you can, you probably have to just. I don't see that on my end, but let me see if I can play this video. Let's see if I can play this.
Hold on,
Yeah.
Ajay, I'm
Okay,
clearing it.
you have
I'm
to play
clearing
it
it.
on
Hold on.
YouTube. So let me
Yeah,
play it
yeah.
on YouTube. That's fine.
I'm going to play it on YouTube. Hold on.
Yeah, please go ahead.
It's just starting, okay?
Yeah.
Disgusting, bro. Maybe wear some socks. Nobody wants to see your ugly ass feet.
They
Disgusting.
specifically
You
mention
are
Hindu
fucking
at a
ugly.
1 minute mark.
Fucking nasty. Fucking disgusting human being, bro. You're disgusting, dog. Seriously. We're tired. Nobody wants to fucking see you order bean burritos and shower and fucking cow. That's his cow shit right here. He likes eating cow shit. He pays in urine, man. He likes, nigga, I'll eat a Big Mac in front of your bitch ass, nigga. Look at your feet, man. That's disgusting. You look nasty, alright? Don't come out in public like this again. Sincerely. Nobody comes in public like this. Dirty Hindu.
So this kind of continues, so that we don't need to play the entire video unless there's specific part you want to show. But the guy calls a Hindu woman there a retarded Hindu. Then she talks about. Then he tells her that he's going to eat beef in front of her just to spite her. Which anyone can eat whatever they want, but this is explicitly saying a lot of we don't want to show you the whole video, but a lot of nasty things were said, and all about Hindu beliefs. And you already heard the word retarded Hindu. So that is the world we live in, right? So what else, what can we say about this person who was eventually police arrested him while he was walking out? What do we know about this person?
So, the entire 8-minute video is actually quite interesting. It is interesting because of the way he, Ajay bhai, you cannot see the screen. So if we can put
Okay,
ourselves on the
sorry.
left side.
My apologies. Sorry. This one. Yeah. Okay.
So if you see what he has, so what is interesting is to observe his tattoos, because once the video came out, people were like, oh, like, why is he so hateful? What is the reason he has so much hate? So if you observe the entire 8-minute videos, there are points in the video where he shows his tattoos that are on his hands, and so there are a few things we have to understand here. If you look at his tattoos, this is the first one you can see on the screen. There is uh, Khalistan 47, Khalistan 84, and two AK-47s that are tattooed on his hands. So what this shows is that he's, number one, a Khalistani. I'm specifically not using the word Sikh because I will explain why I'm not using the word Sikh, but just calling him a Khalistani. Uh, and if you go to the next slide, Ajay bhai,
Yep.
you will see some Gurumukhi quotes. So these quotes are actually from the Guru Granth Sahib. And ironically, this quote, translates to something which means, I'm going to be uniting the belief in God. Uh, and I think that's very clear for us to understand that this individual is a troubled, hateful individual, and is reflective of a larger problem that we face as a community, as a Hindu community, and also about the problem that we face geopolitically as Indians or Indian Americans. This individual is a Khalistani who probably grew up as a Sikh or considers himself a Sikh, but obviously he has no idea what the tattoo represents and what it actually means. So that's one red flag. The other red flag is the fact that he has a tattoo of AK-47s with the Khalistan in signs on it, shows that he's a very dedicated Khalistani. This is the second red flag because it shows that the Khalistan movement, in its distorted, almost like a zombie form that it is in right now, is essentially a hate campaign of criminals whose association with Sikh Panth, and by extension Hindu Dharma, has been completely broken. So this movement, which claims to fight for a Sikh homeland in Punjab and actually led to the death of thousands of people, both Sikhs and Hindus in India, and led to the death of more than 300 innocent Canadians in a bomb and terrorist attack in Canada, over the Atlantic Ocean. In this is the representation of that movement. This is what is left of that movement, and it is a caricature of hate, pretty much. And it's sad that young Sikhs in American Sikhs, are being fed this propaganda. So you can see his level of dedication is so high to this cause that he has tattooed it on his hand. Yet his level of knowledge is so low that he actually doesn't know what that tattoo means. And more importantly, he hates Hindus about whom he has no idea. He probably has never even gone to India in his entire life. So this is the current representation of the Khalistan movement, and this shows the success of the radical Islamist community from Pakistan in Islamizing the American Sikh. And that, I think, should be a bigger concern for the Sikh community in America than anything else. Uh,
Yeah, considering if you look at philosophically, if you look at actually by reading Guru Granth Sahib, if you look at if you look at the cultural practices, as uh, there's absolutely no doubt that various sampradayas of Sanatan Dharma share a lot together, a lot, right? Uh, the
Correct.
the philosophy of karma, the mention of word Ram in Guru Granth Sahib, and all of the other philosophical and the worship underpinnings of the faith.
And
And
all the Sikh gurus,
till
all
now,
the Sikh gurus
yeah, and
are essentially promoters and practitioners and honest believers of Vishishta Advaita.
yeah,
And any scholar of religion and darshana will tell you that, including Sikh scholars. But that is not the important part. The important part is that the masses of Sikhs in America, a big section of them, have been completely divorced. They are only Sikhs by name. they have been completely divorced from their own heritage, and now they are essentially a caricature of an instrument of the Islamist
Yeah,
Pakistani.
and so that till 100 years ago, even more recently, than 100 years ago, the eldest son in a family used to become a Sikh, right? If you look at the 1947, and we celebrated the 75th anniversary of India's independence last week on this show and around the world, and there is a shared suffering that a million people killed, and shared suffering between all the sampradayas of Sanatan Dharma, and Sikh and Hindu and everyone suffered equally at the hand of people who created Pakistan, and they were driven out of their homes in Punjab. They were driven out of their homes in Sindh, and they were driven out of their homes in Balochistan. Even today in Afghanistan, the Sikhs have been not just brutally attacked year after year, to the extent that there are now only a dozen of them left, if at all. And where are they going? They're going to India, where they find refuge in India, where everyone is treated equally. And yet, someone sitting in America, whose probably grandfather was probably a practicing Hindu, is now calling Hindus all kinds of abuse, all kind of abuses and all kind of filth. And how do we transition in a generation or two from your grandfather following a particular belief to now you're out in Taco Bell abusing this belief? And that to me is so that absolutely baffling, right?
Not
That
just
means
that,
that is it. I mean, I know the reasons. I know a lot of money has gone
the
into it.
rest of the community is not. See, this is the thing. Uh, The rest of the Sikh community around the world that is
Yeah,
not aligned to the Khalistani movement.
it is America and Canada.
Yeah, it is only the Khalistanis that have this issue, and that I
Yes.
think is
No, I'm saying, how does this person
uh,
go from where he was
because
in
yeah,
two
yeah, and I
generations?
think we should have a show on that, Ajay bhai. I think we
Yeah,
should analyze the degeneration of the Khalistani movement, or it was probably from the beginning that way, but I was too young to analyze it in its earlier version. But at least since the 90s and the 2000s, it is progressively becoming a degenerated form of rhetoric spouting Islamist. So he's essentially an
also,
Islamist
I look.
who holds a purpose.
I was in college, and I was in Khalsa College, which is a college that is run by Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee in Mumbai. I grew up in early 80s, and and I can tell you that I had friends, several Sikh friends, who in the earlier parts were believed in what they called the Punjab agitation. That was the moniker. That was that was the movement. And then it gradually, in the in a 2 or 3 year period, it transitioned to this Khalistani movement, and more and more militantism and more violence kind of seeped in. But also that today's topic is about this abuse of Hindus. So let's go to the next incident that happened, and this was in Plano, Texas. And so that this is a video I think I should be able to play. So let me just play this first 2 minutes of this video.
The sound is a little low, Ajay bhai. You can increase the sound volume.
If they are so great in your country, then stay there. Don't fuck with me. We were not talking to you. You came here. Get lost. You're fucking and hurry. Yeah. Oh, I will come closer. Come closer. Oh my God, guys, record. She's hitting me. She's hitting me. Oh my God. Oh, she's hitting me. Oh, she's hitting me. She's hitting me. Fuck y'all. Fucking furry ass bitches. Hello, yes. We are in the passing of 51 from the woman that attacked us. I'd like to. My phone number is 974-345-895.
So I'm going to stop the video here because people who are watching this show got the gist of it. She calls Indian women kariyas, whatever, and then She goes around, goes and abuses them, physically attacks them. In fact, later in the video, she even says that if you don't stop recording me, I'm going to take a gun out and I'm going to shoot you and things like that, right? So, I mean, these are four women who are standing in a parking lot of a restaurant, I believe, and this woman comes from nowhere and starts abusing them. And when these people were reporting to police, and this woman specifically comes and says, go back to India. And then she later on goes and claims that she is a Mexican American, so herself an immigrant, and still wants, and herself a brown skin like any Indian, and she yet wants all the Indians, abuses the other immigrants, right? So the what gives? What is going on here?
So one thing I want to clarify is that not a Mexican immigrant. She
It's second
actually says
generation.
it. Yeah, she actually
Yes,
says that
yes,
I'm
second.
born.
But I mean, her family is immigrant, so she is
Right,
second
right,
generation.
right. I think, but
Right.
that's like her defining, distinguishing identity element that she makes clear in
She
the video.
speaks without an accent is her defining
Yeah,
identity.
yeah, yeah. That's her defining element is that I could be anybody from anywhere in the world as long as I'm born in America and have the American accent. Uh,
Yeah.
you are you are lesser than me. So that was her entire spiel and hate camp. So, but the thing is, this, as I said in the beginning of the show, that what you see here, this woman is a Catholic Church employee. She's actually got a senior level in one of the Catholic churches in Dallas, or was. I don't know if she's still working there. She may have been fired because she was arrested. So she has this. The talking points that she mentions is very much the talking points you see in social media against Hindus. So this whole representation of Indians. So later on, this what I'm saying now is going to become relevant. People might be saying, why is he distinguishing between Hindus and Indians? Because what is perceived as Indians in the American hate space is essentially Hindu, and that is something that our community has to understand, even when it is not said explicitly. And you will see that this is something that was brought up in the conversation. If you remember the report that came out from NCRI labs in from Rutgers University, they had just last month made this whole study of social media memes that target Hindus. And the conversation that this Mexican American Christian woman was spouting, that the hate that she was spouting, very much represents the kind of social media memes that are available in Christian right wing American spaces. So that is a good indicator of how social media hate campaigns against Hindus and Indians translate into mainstream conversations. And I'm sure this woman has had this conversation with other American women or men in her circles, because of which she had such clear, defined propaganda hate points that she spurted out one after the other. She literally had like 7 of them, from curry ass to language, which means this is part of a conversation. She has been having this conversation with other people, which is the bigger concern here.
Yeah, and so about this one, this incident was a little different from the other one, right? Because the other incident, when some of the Hindu organizations and local Hindu community went to offer help to the people who were victims, they readily, or people a person who was a victim, she readily accepted that help. But in this particular case was somewhat unique. And this particular case was unique because it started out by the help that these women got from a Council of American Islamic Relations. And this is the organization that is known as CAIR, CAIR. And this is an explicit anti Hindu, anti Indian organization. And this is the second time in Texas, the first time being the case of bullying of a Hindu kid somewhere in Texas. And this is the second case in last 3 months where CARE has taken up the cause. And so the Ironic, right? Or maybe
So what
not.
I would say, yeah. So Ajay bhai, what I would say is that this is also a part of the pattern. What I'm beginning to see is that you will see CARE, or Council for American Islamic Relations, gaslight Hindus left, right, and central. That is literally one of their biggest agendas in America right now. Hindus and Indians all around the country. But the moment a Hindu or an Indian is attacked using some of the same tropes that CARE actually promotes by a Christian or a non-ethnic South Asian, or somebody from non-South Asian origin, then suddenly CARE flips. So it's a, it's double promotion for them. So on one hand, they encourage the hate and the targeting of Indian Americans and Hindus. On the other hand, the moment a Indian American or a Hindu is not as much Hindu, but Indian American is targeted, even if that person is a Hindu, by a non-ethnic person of the same origin. So somebody who is a white, or somebody who is Latino in this case, who is a Christian, CARE will immediately jump in to the rescue, or pretend to be the rescuer of the Hindu or the Indian American. And I think that is a very, I would say, is a sophisticated propaganda tool. It is extremely dangerous, and it's extremely dishonest.
Yeah.
It's so
Eh,
dishonest.
but Utsada, what baffled me really is not as much what Care did, because Care likes to play in troubled water and increase its own, you know, uh, you know, uh, increase the the narrative, exposure of the narrative that it's trying to build, which is anti-America, anti-Hindu, anti-India. I mean, Care is all of these things, and most people who know Care know about this, right? But what baffled me, Utsada, is this guy Amit Banerjee, who is the son of one of the victims of this abuse, actually tweeted to one of the Hindu organizations and said, "Hey, this is my mom's video. It is not anti-Hindu. It is anti-brown, anti-Indian, which is not the same. We will not be used for your nationalist propaganda." A lot of problems with this, right? The
So
person
I want,
abusing was brown. The person abusing is using them to promote the Islamist agenda, and he has no problem with this. But
correct. So there are a couple of things I want to say here. I myself, as Hindu Pact, contacted the one of the victims. I left her more than one phone message. Actually, I left her 3 phone messages. Uh, in spite of that, I never got a call back. I interacted with one of those victims using a common friend who I know and who happens to know this person. These people told me, or at least through this common friend, sent me the impression that they were not interested in talking to the media, or to anybody who has any initiative or effort to connect them or their voice to the media. And then within a day, they have this nice spread on CBS News about talking, they are talking to the media. So what I felt in this whole episode is that there is an issue on the side of the victims as well. And with as much as I'm on their side, I mean, the kind of hatred that was spouted at them, we are with them. We will always be with them, no matter how they look at us. But there is a larger issue that our Hindu community has to deal with, which is that there is this entire segment of our community that almost feels safer abusing us, their own, to make themselves look good in front of somebody else who actually is using them as cannon fodder in this situation. So, Amit Banerjee, the son of one of the victims, the way he targeted Hindu American Foundation, later you have to say that he deleted that tweet. But the fact that he started off from that much point of ignorance tells us that there is a bigger problem in our community, and that the Hindu community's younger American generation, the generations of Hindus who were born in this country from immigrant parents, there is a huge section of them that has been completely divorced from the Hindu identity, and are seeking identity and respect as part of this quote unquote South Asian, quote unquote brown narrative, where they are getting hated and beaten up. This woman who targeted these ladies herself is brown, but this guy has no clue how to counter that because he actually doesn't know who he himself is. And I think this is a problem going forward. I mean, you will see this again and again and again compound itself. And this is the reason why our organizations like Hindu Pact have been created, so that we can address this larger ignorance issue. This comes from a complete, total ignorance, and actually connects to the propaganda that I was mentioning in the beginning,
Yeah.
coming from organizations like CARE, as well as these, intersectional South Asian Islamist groups.
Yeah, and also that, and these women who said that we want nothing to do with Hindutva types actually took and did a press conference, if I if I read this correctly in one of the news items at least, with care. So absolutely no problem in aligning with the Islamists, but a problem in aligning with pro-Hindu organizations who are fighting for their right to
So
not
I'm
to
not,
be
I
not
haven't
to be
seen that
abused.
press conference that they did with CARE, but one thing I'm 100% sure of is that the amount of dissatisfaction and, almost just leave us alone kind of approach that they showed towards their fellow Hindus who came to speak for them, if they had actually shown even 10% of that towards CARE, I think people would have taken them much more seriously, and
Yeah,
would have been, you know, it's just a bigger issue that I think this what these people did represents a larger issue in our community that we all have to address, and as Hindu Pact we want to do that.
absolutely. So that, and then there are people who want to victimize the victims, right? So here are some tweets that were made by Dr. Audrey Trushke, who is a faculty or a professor at Rutgers University, or the State University of New Jersey, and she calls this. She starts out in a benign way: appalling case of anti-Asian racism from a person shouting right-wing xenophobic rhetoric, a brutal reminder of vitriol that comes and otherizing groups of people, and the utter hubris of acting like your community alone has the right to define nation and culture. She says that, and then also that she launches into her own thread where she says that for those mischaracterizing this attack, yeah, I'm looking at you, Hindu nationalist, stop. Y'all undercut the fight against racism in 1,000 ways already. Example, hanging out with Republicans who spew exactly this kind of anti-immigrant language, call racism what it is. If you're wondering, do the nationalists really come into it? If you're looking at anti-Asian hate trends, yes, but this is not anti-Hindu. And then she goes and says, I welcome literally anyone and everyone to call out intolerances and hate, but those who falsely describe hate crime, quote unquote, as Hindus, is what she means, in order to push their hateful agenda that hurts other Asian American communities, they're doing the opposite. So, she's trying to divide the Asians by religion. So, hey, this is not about Hindus, this is all Asians, despite the fact that in Fremont, we explicitly saw the person, you know, abusing Hindus by calling them Hindus, despite the fact that these women were not othered or not abused or not, there was no assault on. They didn't suffer assault because they were any other Asian, but because they were curry ass blah blah, right? These are the dog whistles, and these are the abuses that are specially reserved for Hindus. What part of this does Audrey not understand?
No, Audrey understands everything. Audrey is just being an extension of CARE's narrative. So what Audrey is doing is an extension of CARE's narrative. They do not want Hindus who are being targeted to even think of calling themselves as Hindus. They want to tell you who you are. And as you can see from the message, from the tweet of Amit Banerjee, who was the son of one of the victims, there are lots of Hindus who actually believe Audrey and not us. So they will be targeted as Hindus, they will be othered as Hindus, they will be beaten up as Hindus, but The Audrey Trushkis and the cares of the world will tell them that it's not happening because you're Hindus. It's happening because you are somebody else. And therefore, you go and fight for somebody else. And that somebody else will also hate Hindus. But that's okay.
Yeah, less than 24 hours ago, Audrey Trushke put out another tweet, and that said, one difference is that anti-Semitism is real. It, in its true sense of prejudice against Jews, criticizing Israel is a fair game. In contrast, the core Hindu nationalist grievances are largely invented, based on a mix of misreadings and outright falsehoods about the past. So a person getting abused in in California at a Taco Bell is an invention. A group of women getting abused in Texas is an invention of people
No,
like you
no,
and me who
so
are Hindutva followers, right?
well, the thing is that Audrey is able to pronounce these things out and gather so much support is because we as a community and our organizations who were Hindu organizations over the last many decades dropped the ball. It's not just Audrey's audacity and Audrey's strength, but it also shows our failure and our weakness. And that is why we need the support, and we talk about why we need to have stronger organizations like Hindu Pact to deal and address with this issue. And we are.
And we are,
Audrey has a lead of about 20 years over us.
yeah,
We started 2 years ago. The Audreys of the world have been doing this for the last 22 years.
at least, at
Yeah.
least.
So,
And,
I
and
mean,
you
I'm.
know what? And
Yeah.
look, that is the kind of stuff that leads to this, where in New York City, in Queens, a borough of Queens, at Tulsi Mandir, the Gandhi Mahatma Gandhi statue was vandalized, and this is the state of the statue. And you have some, you have some videos, and you want to talk about this. I guess this is a screenshot from the video. I just want to show a picture of the Mahatma Gandhi statue and how it looks now. I think I have it somewhere. This is the state of the statue. So walk us through what you have here.
So, Ajay, what you see here is that the picture shows the culprits. Most of them look South Asian, and I will not go any further because we don't know the names of these individuals, but they do ethnically look like they are, as as Amit Banerjee said, brown. uh, uh, and they not only destroyed this temple's entrance and the Gandhi statue there once, they attacked it once, they graffitied it, wrote Gandhi dog, and stuff like that. But after the police complaint, after a lot of things were discussed and publicly, statements were made by the leadership of the Queen's government, including by Assemblywoman Jennifer Rajkumar, these culprits went back there and demolished the Gandhi statue. And again, they knew they were on camera. This is the brazenness. See, the Audrey Trushkis of the world empower these individuals and have successfully done it to the point where they genuinely believe that the Hindu has been disenfranchised to the point where they can go back to the Hindu temple and re-destroy in full camera view the Gandhi statue again. And they can do this because I can assure you, Audrey Trushki will come up with a defense for this as well. And it will be a very well rounded intellectual defense that will be supported by many such woke.
Oh, but Utsada, she would say that this is a figment of your imagination.
No. She will justify it in a different way. The fact that it was Hindus who suffered here is the figment of your imagination, Ajay.
Yeah.
But the fact that the event happened, she will justify that event in a much broader way. And trust me, in some way, she will actually come and blame you for it.
Yeah.
So this is the level of deracinated propaganda that has been we are facing. And the saddest part here is that I have to say this, that we have done a very, very poor job in dealing with it. And
Yeah, and also that is because, and when we issued a press release, one of the things that I mentioned, and I'm going to read that as is from the press release that we issued, as I said, that this is the we see this as continuation of India phobia, Hindu phobia, and Asian hate in our society. It would be easy to blame these incidents on the envy of success of immigrant Hindu community or even their skin color. Undoubtedly, these factors play a significant role. However, we would be remiss if we overlook the role of Hindu hating organizations such as Hindus for Human Rights, Equality Labs, Indian American Muslim Council, Islamic Circle of North America, and Dismantle Global Hindutva. Their ilk fosters and enables an environment where such incidents are able to take place. And we want the Hindu community to be extra vigilant in countering hate as we continue to positively reinforce the image of Hindus in America through movements like Hindu Heritage Month, which is coming up in October. And so the no good deed in some way or the other kind of goes unpunished, because here are one of our fellow Hindu organizations who we have worked with on many projects, Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh. And Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh every year does in January does Surya Namaskar Yagna. And the Surya Namaskar Yagna is where people in January and February, they practice these yogasanas or yoga for a month, and they record how many minutes, how many reps of the yoga they have done, of a particular set of yoga poses they have done. And this is to improve the overall health of the community. So the city of Manteca in California passed a proclamation commemorating this event. And because of organizations that I just mentioned and their movement, and Peter Frederick and his, all the people that he hangs around with, the city actually rescinded this resolution. So, or a proclamation rather. So that even yoga is now, uh, you know, I guess it was always to some extent, people always had envy that yoga is creating a positive image of Hindus and Hindu Dharma in America. But now yoga has been made a specific target.
so this is something that I always say and always tell our community members, that because when we do things for advocacy work, when we highlight the efforts being made by the anti-Hindu elements in America and their activities, I get a lot of community members tell me from prominent organizations, and I'm not making fun of them. I'm just saying how they say it to me. Utsavji, don't worry about any of these things. We will show the good things we do, and everything will fall in place. And I have heard this for the last 20 years, and I tend to disagree with them, because not exposing the hate against us is actually a very big mistake that we have been doing over the years. And the way the statement on yoga was withdrawn in California is a very good example of our inability to do opposition exposing, and our dislike for taking on the other side, how much ever hate they throw at us. And this is a very good example of that. And I can guarantee you that this is just the beginning. If our community leaders genuinely believe that just by showing the bright side of who we are, and all the things, good things that we bring to this world, is going to somehow dent the other side's hatred against us, it's not going to work. It's not worked before, and it would not work again. So I would say that this is a lesson for us, and this is something that we will have to continue to deal with going forward. And at some point we will reach a stage where we will have to tell the world who the other side is, what their association is with hate groups, what their association with is with ideologies and thought processes that genuinely believe in extermination of the 1.3 billion Hindus we have in this world, either through ideological processes or through physical harm. And that is the messaging that we have to finally come up with and tell the world, if we want to thrive as a community in America, and as well as to make America a better place for everybody.
So that I did wanted to kind of talk about this statement that was issued by Hindu Pack, which you have a slide for. Would you want to elaborate? I'm sorry, I went to the next incident before you had a chance to cover this. So
So
anything you
this
want
is
to
this
highlight
is a
here?
screenshot. Yeah, this is the screenshot of uh, the press statement that we released. It's a part of the press statement, and it quotes Rakhi Israni, who is the executive director legal for Hindu Pact. And this is a statement that appeared in major newspapers in India. It was taken up by the Press Trust of India,
Including Hindu. I mean,
including the major, not just Hindu, it's also the Telegraph. So two of the most anti-Hindu left-leaning newspapers of India, far more left than American left, also published this. In a statement, Hindu Pact condemned the growing hate and vitriol against a thriving and flourishing diaspora community that is proudly part of America's civil society and fabric. Rakhi Israni, Executive Director Legal for Hindu Pact, said, along with the irrational hate being directed at Asian Americans in general, hate crimes against Hindu Americans and Indian Americans are on the rise nationwide. So this is our position. We genuinely want to unite people against these acts.
yeah.
From the recent vicious incident at the Taco Bell in Fremont, California, to the attack on the 4 Indian American women in Plano, Texas, it is unfortunately becoming too common in our daily society to verbally, or even worse, physically assault another person because of their skin color, religion, or national origin. So we do address all issues here.
Yeah. Hey,
We,
so to that point, right? You made an excellent point, and to that point, um, I want to say that the abuses are coming from all directions, and I want you to take a look at this one. This is from Ann Coulter. Now she has been pretty much disgraced, but look at the tweet she put out, and this is someone who is extreme right wing, and she is saying that, again, she is trying to create a divide between the Indians, mostly Hindus, and African Americans. And she is saying, curious, how many of these businesses did Indians create, as opposed to a slide in as non-white yay CEO. And then she quotes and then she says, I say again, black people, all the good affirmative action jobs are being taken by Indians. So first of all, a CEO position is not an affirmative action position. A CEO of Google, Microsoft, Adobe, Twitter, MasterCard, these are major companies. Their shareholders want to have a company that is run well and is profitable. They're not going to look at people's background and say, oh, let's put this affirmative action Indian candidate or Hindu candidates to run the company to look good on the shareholder annual report. Second thing is that all of these Indians who are heading these major organizations are exceptionally qualified. And the third thing is that in many cases, if you look at the admissions at elite Ivy League colleges, Indians and Hindus are actually the victims of the so-called affirmative action. Because, and we did a whole show on this, because Hindus are actually considered near white, and they are being deprived with other Asians like Chinese and Indians, right, are mostly in America denied the opportunity for to have a fair admission at, and there's a lawsuit in Supreme Court that is being heard by Supreme Court, in elite Ivy League colleges. So now here are the victims who are being victimized twice.
well, so the biggest problem, and this is something I think we should stress on more as we go forward, Ajay bhai. I would really want the American Hindu communities and Indian American communities to be wary of this ideological, dis, this ideological dismemberment of the community by political entities. so that they make one or the other side look better than they. The Hindu American community is being targeted by Christian right wing, it's being targeted by Islamists, it's being targeted by the extreme left. And there are different incidents highlighting each of these cases happening within the last month, as we discussed. So it is important for the Hindu American communities to understand that irrespective of which political party you like or vote for, you have to stand up for the entire community, irrespective. So, when the attack is coming from the Islamist side, then only one section is standing up and voicing its voice. When the attack is coming from the Christian right, only one section is standing up, and it's the other group is like, okay, let's not talk about this. And when the attack is coming from the extreme left, then another group is completely silent. So this is the reason why we are going to be used as cannon fodder by all of these sides.
Well, look, I mean, this is where Ann Coulter and Equality Labs find common ground,
Exactly.
because
So
both of them have been
yeah,
criticizing Hindus who have positions at CEO level positions at major companies in America, and not just these
in
five.
fact, Equality Labs is a very good example of how this phenomenon works. Equality Labs started off as a Christian funded anti-Hindu group that morphed into a Islamist run anti-Hindu group that finds common cause with the right wing and extreme left at the same time, as long as they are against Hindus.
Yeah.
So, those who hate Hindus have actually figured out ways to find intersectionality. Hindus, on the other hand, have figured out ways to divide themselves along democratic versus republican lines, and are not standing together to fight hate that is emerging from all sides.
All sides, absolutely. I mean, this is, what a convergence. There is a care which supports Equality Lab, and here we have Ann Coulter supporting Equality Lab. This is
Exactly.
the irony. So,
This tells us where we are making a mistake as a community, and where we
absolutely,
should
yeah,
be.
yeah, yeah. And I think the sooner the Hindu community actually realizes and stands up for Hindu identity, and stands up for what is stands up for the positiveness as well as the negation of the negativeness in the society, we will be always at this receiving end till our community is no more. So I found it ironic that there is a organization that usually, even no matter what happens around the world, uh, you know even if it's a fact or not a fact, uh, no matter you know no matter where if the word Hindu is used in a positive way, they find a way to criticize Hindus and beat up on Hindus. This organization is called Hindus for Human Rights. And so that you would think that on a week where the Hindus were attacked in Plano, Texas, or abused and attacked, in this case physically, Hindus are abused in Fremont, Taco Bell, where Hindu mandirs, in a month, where Hindu mandirs have been vandalized, where a yoga celebration proclamation has been rescinded. Not a word from them. Maybe they had something on the Queen's Hindu Mandir, but at least on the Taco and the Fremont case, in the Plano case, on the yoga case, an organization that's supposed to be standing up for, is supposed to be Hindus and standing up for human rights, not a word.
So I just want to say that the Hindus for Human Rights organization should just call itself Hindus Against Hindu Human Rights. The, the the messaging, the narrative, and everything that they have been presenting over the
They have
years.
nothing to do with Hindus. Anything
No, no, they have a lot to do with
no, they
Hindus.
have a lot to do with Hindus. They have nothing to do with the Hindus suffering. They have to
They,
do
they should just call themselves honestly Hindus against Hindu human rights, and
exactly.
and that way I think they will their organization's name would reflect the purpose and the agenda of the organization, and I think the world will be able to deal with it much more honestly. It's okay. I mean, we know there are thousands of millions of people out there who hate Hindus. They will be just one more of them, and that is fine. We have faced that kind of colonial uh, colonial driven hate for the last 1,000 years and more. So it's fine, we can deal with that. But I think one good thing about Hindus for human rights, or whatever they call themselves, is that this organization has been exposed to the point where most Hindus who actually read and write and see things happening at some point figure this out. I mean, they have been just so blatant. And there are times when where whoever manages them, whoever is there behind the faces they are, does give them good ideas. Like, they sometimes go and do events that, like, they will try to show that they are Indians, and they will try to bring Indian Americans together. They even said they are going to celebrate uh, Hindu Pacts and VHPA's October Hindu Heritage Month in their own way. They said we are gonna also celebrate Hindu Heritage Month. So see, they make an effort sometimes to find some common ground, because at the end of the day they still need recruitment from the Hindu community in some way, and buy-in from the Hindu community in some way, to promote the hate they have for the community. So they do
Yeah.
one of these, those surface level. So next time when Hindus for human rights say they want to celebrate Hindu Heritage Month, we should invite them and
Yeah, our invitation is open. I mean, join other 112 Hindu organizations. Put a Hindu Heritage Month. Go with Hindu
logo up
Heritage
there.
Month. Put a
Yeah,
logo.
yeah.
We'll license it to you. It is you have to license the logo from us. No charge. It's all free. But it's a copyrighted. It is a copyrighted. Hindu Heritage Month itself is trademarked and copyrighted and such. So please, fill out a form, become an official partner, join the movement. We welcome you. Okay, and then we are hopeful that you will join the defense of the Hindu community, and just like you join the defense of all the other communities around the world. Why not bother with the human rights of Hindus? Please join us. Hey Utsada, with that, I think we are towards the end of our show, so we would like to kind of we have some regularly scheduled segments, so we want to kind of talk about these regularly scheduled segments. The first one is the Hindu Seva or Charity Act of the Week, where we think you should uh, contribute this week, even if it's $5, $10, $100, whatever amount you have, even $1, right? So here is the one. So there we go.
मनसा सततं स्मरणीयं मनसा सततं स्मरणीयं वचसा सततं वदनीयं मनसा सततं स्मरणीयं वचसा सततं वदनीयं लोकहितं.
And so that this week again, the Hindu Seva Charity Act of the Week is Hindu Mandir Executives Conference, HMEC. The conference is taking place on September 16th, 17th, 18th in Cincinnati, Ohio. Over 100 mandirs will be there. It's the first time we are holding an in-person conference after the onset of the pandemic or COVID. So please join the conference in person. The website is hmec.info. I should have had this on my slide. I apologize for not having, but please join HMEC. In person on September 16th, 17th, 18th. The website is hmec.info, info, or you can donate it on HMEC website, make a contribution, or you can go to vhp-america.org/donate, vhp-america.org/donate, and please do make a contribution. We are going to talk about the role mandirs will play, or should play rather, in the contemporary American society as the center of community. And we'll also talk in that conference about how to get the second generation and the third generation more engaged in mandir activities. So please, Utsada is going to be there. Please join. Tejal Ben is the convener of the conference. She was on the show earlier today. And as I said, Utsada is going to represent Hindu Pact over there. So is Vallabhaji, who is our Mandir liaison for Hindu Pact. She's one of the key organizers here. Dipti Mahajanji is going to talk about public engagement from Hindu Pact. Anjali Rimi who joined us for conversations over coffee, is going to be speaking over there as well. And so is Dhanesh Buddharam, who is our student intern for Hindu Pact, who is also going to be at the conference. And so is Renu Gupta ji, who is our executive director for chapters. She's going to be there. And Jay Bansal ji, who is the executive director for education, and is in charge of our Hindu Dvesha or Hindu Phobia project. He's also going to be there. So we have and a whole bunch of active Hindu Pact Karyakartas, including Amulya Tyagi ji is going to be there, and a whole bunch of other people who I'm not naming here today. So a strong contingent of Hindu Pact is going to be at HMEC, and I urge everyone to join there, connect with Utsada and all the other Hindu Pact leaders in person. Um, Utsada, any comments before I move on to the next one, which is the Hindu good news of the week? And so that the good news of the week is something which a news item that caught my attention, and we should have a lot broader discussion on this. But Ayurveda's spiritual science is now making inroads among foodies and healers. And so that for people who know who know Ayurveda, who know the Indian sciences, and this is still a largely unexplored area. And the fact that it's gaining popularity, it's and the news item actually says that uh, this is a 3,000-year old science, maybe longer. And now New York City is becoming the hub of Ayurveda trend, where the creative forces behind the new Ayurvedic restaurants, spas, health clinic, and yoga studios are collaborating, working out how to apply the philosophy to their disciplines authentically, to avoid turning the trend into a simple marketing gimmick. That is the article from Hindu Press International. I believe they might have gotten it from Religious News Service. Yeah, they did. They got it from Religious News Service. So now you know where the hatred against Hindus is coming from. One of the reasons the hatred against Hindus we see in the society today is because the more and more people discover this what Hindu Dharma has to offer. People who detest Hindu Dharma, people who hate Hindu Dharma, are coming up with a way to abuse Hindus and way to denigrate Hindu Dharma. So that with that, we will bring. I know the entire show was about the entire show was about the you know Hindu phobe of the week of the month. So I'm not specifically calling out any one incident, but that is the entire show was about that, right? So with that, we bring a close to today's show. Any final thoughts before we say namaste and goodbye?
No, just support us, work with us. We need people across the country. We need you to join us and donate to us. You can see the donation scrolling down, hindupact.org/donate. And whatever we do, we will be able to do it better and bigger and more effectively if we have the resources to do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sada. And with that, we here is another show, Hindu Lounge 112 comes to an end. Thank you for joining us. Hindu Lounge is brought to you by Hindu Pact. Hindu Pact is Hindu Policy Research and Advocacy Collective. It's an initiative of World Hindu Council of America, or VHPA. Utsada is Utsav Chakravarti. He is the executive director of Hindu Pact. I'm Ajay Shah. I'm the president of World Hindu Council of America. Hindu Lounge comes live every Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern and 8 o'clock Pacific on our YouTube channel, which is and on our Twitter channel, on our Facebook channel. And please join us every week where we bring contemporary Hindu issues with a unique perspective to you. Thank you and namaste.
Namaste.